Hello, goal inspired career professionals. Welcome to GICC Live, the Career Advancement Show. And I am so excited about today's show, guys, because today we're going to talk about how to work with recruiters to get jobs. I have been in this business for more than 15 years as a recruiter and moved to senior director. So I know what it is all about. I know all about recruiting. I know all about working with agencies. I know all about the different types of agencies. And I want to enlighten you today because I see a lot of people sometimes on LinkedIn, and I think they're confused about the different types of recruiting. So if you're watching live, guys, put live in the message. Jay's here. I see Patricia is here. And I see a lovely LinkedIn user who is saying good evening all. And sometimes I don't see the faces until later on. And Michael is here. So what we're going to do, we're going to start, guys, because this is very, very, very important. Very important that we talk about how to work with recruiters. One of the things is that you need, when you're looking for a job, guys, we need a comprehensive job searching strategy. And it is going to involve working with recruiters. So if you're not working with recruiters, you're not doing everything that you need to get that job that you need, right? I see David Dinesh. Dinesh is here. Thank you for hopping on, Dinesh. So it is very important. You know what I advocate? A comprehensive job searching strategy, because you need to do it all. You don't have a job. When you don't have a job, you don't have a job. So it is extremely important. So I'm going to share some information with you, and I'm also going to show you some PowerPoints. My live shows is like a masterclass unless I'm bringing in a guest, because when I'm here, I wanted to give you a lot of information. Right? So the reason why I ran the promo before I started even talking, I want you to understand that the recruiter does not work for the job seeker. And a lot of times people on LinkedIn and so on are very confused because they complain a lot about the recruiter. And I just want to let you know that a recruiter does not work for you. You could not pay a recruiter to work for you, guys. So, but you can work with a recruiter. So we're going to get into all that, right? And the recruiter works for the company that hires them, right? And the recruiter is always very busy. As I tell you, I was a recruiter. Sometimes I was working up until sometimes at 11 o'clock of night, I was checking with people on LinkedIn and sending emails to people for the lots of jobs that I have to find people for. So you have to know that the recruiter is working sometimes with a lot of people, a lot of consultants, a lot of job seekers, and you might be working with one or two recruiters. So you're going to find that it is very important that you develop a relationship, and we are going to get to that, right? So another thing, that one of the reasons why I ran the promo is that you have to know that most recruiters are not extremely technical, right? They are recruiting, they are matching, they are matchmakers. They're matching you with skill sets, right? They're matching your skill sets with requirements, with positions. For example, I was technical because I have a technical background, and we work on a lot of IT projects, and IT projects are technical. And I also have an accounting background, so I was a little different. But most of the recruiters didn't have a technical background, didn't have an IT background. And when I became a director, I created training for recruiters so that they understand IT, because a lot of them didn't understand. They don't understand what routers and switches are. They don't understand what IT security is, what is Kubernetes. And then maybe some people on this call don't even understand what Kubernetes are. You know, how you package things, what is packaging and all that stuff when it comes to IT. IT can get real technical. Also accounting. Okay, so we have to know that the recruiters are not very technical. So without further ado, I'm going to tell you what we're going to some of the things that we're going to talk about. So I'm just going to add to this stream I'm going to add to this stream my PowerPoint here, and so that you can see what we're going to talk about, right? So we're going to talk about the different types of recruiters. I'm going to talk about how recruiters are paid. I'm going to give you 3 tips for having a successful relationship with a recruiter, and how they can help you, and how to ask the right questions regarding recruiting. For example, the process, how to ask the right questions when somebody comes to you and say, I have a job for you. Are you interested? Right? What are the questions? How to ask better questions of recruiters. So that is very, very important for you to know. And I'm just going to stop a little bit here, and let us see where some of our people are streaming in from. We have Devinish here. As I said, he's here. Dion is here. Okay, we have other persons on LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn user, and so on. So as you come in, just let me know where you're streaming in from, and let me know that you're here. And what I would like you to do is to ask some questions in the chat as I go along, so that I can help you better, because I tell you, I would like to let you know some of these things are important. So the next thing to talk about, guys, is the types of recruiters. Okay, you have different types of recruiters. So on LinkedIn, when you see a lot of recruiters, I see a lot of recruiters who are engaging on LinkedIn. A lot of these are corporate recruiters. They work for the company that is hiring. But you have recruiters from staffing agencies. And when you're working with a recruiter from a staffing agency, the relationship has to be different. You can forge a relationship with a long-term relationship recruiters from staffing agencies, especially if you are a consultant or you're a contractor, because it means that you're consultant, you're going to have a job maybe for a year or for 6 months. And after that, you're going to need a placement if you're not, if they don't renew your contract. So it is very important that you forge those relationships with people from staffing agencies. I was very happy when I was a recruiter and people would reach out to me, because I know that I could work with those people. I put people, career professionals in positions. As a matter of fact, when I left recruiting, I had career professionals working with as consultant, contractor, working with me for like 10 years, and they're still working with those organizations. What they do, they keep renewing their contract every year. So these guys are really, honing in on those jobs. There are some people who, after the contract, 6 months, the company doesn't have any more work, and I am able to place those career professionals over and over again. So you have to understand that working with a staffing agency can be very, very beneficial to you, especially if you're a consultant. And I'm in the Ottawa area in Canada, and wherever you are, if you're in India, if you're in Africa, if you're in the United States, and you're in a particular area and you want to work in that area, one of the good things to do is to find the recruiters in those areas. For example, if you're in Ottawa, find the recruiters from the companies in Ottawa and forge some relationship. When I was recruiting, again, I can tell you that because I was recruiting for the Ottawa area, and everybody I put forward for a job, because that was before COVID, I met face to face. So you have to understand that it is very, very, very important that you forge those relationships with those recruiters from the staffing agencies that you are working with, right? Because as I tell you, I used to meet the people face to face. And if you meet somebody face to face over coffee or lunch, you get to know them. You get to talk about, little personal things too, right? Sometimes not only business. And when I used to put my consultants on contract, as I tell you, some of them are working still over 10 years. They're still at the same place. Every year I take my consultants to lunch. Okay. I used to take my consultants to lunch. And sometimes when I meet consultants, I don't just meet them over coffee. I used to take them to lunch at the Sheraton downtown. 160 Albert Street, 150 Albert Street, and the company pays for it. So you can forge great relationships with recruiters. And another thing about forging those relationships, when you are at work, guys, especially those career professionals in the Ottawa area, when you are at work, you don't have time to be searching for jobs. And the good thing about that is that I am looking out for you. Because if a job comes into my office and it looks like you're a fit because I know you, I send that job to you and ask you if you're interested. A lot of people here on LinkedIn I've met face to face. And I've sent them jobs all the time, or I would say, I have this position. Do you know somebody who would be interested? So that is one good way of forging a relationship. So if you're in any local area, because I'm in Ottawa, I can talk about Ottawa, it is good to forge relationship with a recruiting agency, with your personal recruiter. They're like your personal recruiter, even though I said it is not the job of a recruiter to find work for you. But when you forge those relationships, you will have a recruiter almost like your personal recruiter. So that is very important. So let me go back and talk about the corporate recruiters too. So I'm switching back and forth a little bit. A corporate recruiter is working for, say you're working for Amazon or they're working for Microsoft. They are hiring for, say, Amazon and Microsoft. So in your job search, if you have a list of companies that you would really like to work with, wouldn't it be nice if you could forge relationship with somebody in those firms? They don't have horns. Recruiters like to forge relationships. They like to talk to you. I hear on LinkedIn a lot about bad recruiters, but these are the people who just send you something. They don't know you. There is no knowing. There's no liking. There's no trust there. People will work with people who they know, like, and trust, not just in business, but also in recruiting, because I consider that your job is a business. So you can work very well with those corporate recruiters, and you can work very well with those agency recruiters. It's all about forging those relationships. And I'm telling you, this is gold, guys, especially you might be saying, okay, I'm only looking for permanent work, but I'm not looking for consulting work. Well, there are some people who are looking for consulting work. And I have placed people into positions before, and the companies end up hiring them, while the person who would not have taken that job would probably still be looking. So you have to consider that too. If you're looking for a job for a long time, it's not a bad thing if you go and take a contract, a good contract, because sometimes the company, you do such a good job, they end up hiring you. And I'm telling you, I have people working in the federal government right now for 10 years and more, and they're still there. And I stopped recruiting in March, and they are still there. And I think they're going to be there for a long time, because government projects are always very long term. And what happens is that when they have these big applications that every year they have to repurpose and change and do additions to some of those projects. For example, say at Citizenship and Immigration Canada, they have a big application there that has all our information. And what happens is that application is not going anywhere. Just like CRA, those applications are not going, they're always going to need IT people. And the good news is that government doesn't have enough IT people to do the work. So I don't know. I don't think it's very hard to find a job. I think what happens is that there is strategy, and you have to understand the strategy, and you have to incorporate all these things. You have to have a part of your strategy working with an agency, whether it's a recruiting agency or working with corporate recruiters. Okay. So to work with the corporate recruiters to get those relationships going is when you find the recruiters in the jobs on your list of the companies that you like to work for and forge those relationships. So I'm going to continue, but I'm going to tell you also about, like, at the end of this, we're going to talk about, the type of questions to ask, right? But before we even get there, I want you to understand how recruiters are paid, right? Now, as we know, corporate recruiters, if you're in a company as a corporate recruiter, the company pays you. It's just like a permanent job. But for contract, what happens with the contracting world? For example, if the company that I was working with, if I wanted to work with, say, Amazon and Microsoft or any of those big companies or small companies, what you have to do, we have to have a proposal in, and we get on their vendor of record. So when they have opportunities, they send them to you. Okay. So understand that the company, not any company can just start hiring for people. You have to be on their vendor of record. In the federal government, we submit what we call request for we submit responses to the request for proposals in the government, and then what the government does, you will win contracts with them. You win supply arrangements. So you could we have supply arrangements for the federal government to supply, say, maybe CRAs, IRCC, or Indian, another INAC, Indian Affairs. They change the name so often, guys. Transport Canada is an easy one to call. Different clients in the government, right? So what you have is you won a contract with them to supply people, sometimes for 5 years. All right. So that is how you get on to supply consultants or employees to the government. If it is a permanent job, no, government hires permanent people. But if government wants a consultant, they're not going to go to individuals. You have to go through a recruiting agency. Know that, okay? So that is very important for you to know. You can't just go to the government and get a contract. You have to maybe go through a company or an agency that won the RFP and has a supply arrangement, and then you're able to get submitted through that company. So everything comes into one, guys. This is knowledge, The Bible the Bible says that you will die for lack of knowledge. And I think if you are in the business of looking work, if you're a career professional, you should have all knowledge. You should understand how the system works, because we complain all the time about things, but we don't get the knowledge of how the system works. If we want to talk about recruiting, if you want to talk about how to find jobs, the jobs lady, they call me the jobs lady, right? Because I find people jobs with warp speed, right? When they work with me, they find jobs fast. Some people are on the, some people are right now or here listening to me, and they know my system works, right? So I help you to find job with warp speed, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm not going to tell you that I can find your job in 1 week and all that, because you're going to work hard too to find the job. But I keep you accountable. And I've helped people to find jobs and get notice in warp speed, very fast, right? So you have to incorporate that. You have to understand that. You have to get the information. And here I am bringing free information to you so that you can understand contracting and permanent positions. So the government hires for permanent by themselves. You have to go through a different process. But if you want to contract with the government, you have to go through an employment agency, right? Okay, so great. We have that. Now, I'm just going to acknowledge some of our people here where I talk. We have Lily here. Hi, Lily. Nice to see you. And we have Ronald coming in from Malawi. Wow, nice. Thank you, Ronald coming in from Malawi. It's so nice to have you here. So I'm going to continue, guys, and talk about who pays who? If it's a permanent job, you are, for example, if I place you in a permanent job, even if I am a permanent, if I'm not only placing contractors and I'm placing people in permanent positions, once I find you for the company that you're going to work with, they would give my company a finder's fee. So it doesn't affect your pocketbook, because if your salary is 100,000 for the year, sometimes they will pay a company $20,000 or $15,000 to find one person. It is very expensive. So when we're on LinkedIn and people are complaining and talking about companies, it is very expensive to hire, and nobody really wants to go to this process over and over again. So what they're trying to do is to make sure they're trying to find the right person, and no system is perfect. I won't tell you that. No system is perfect. And the companies are trying to find the right person. And sometimes they pay the $15,000 and the $20,000 to find people and still end up with a person who is not a good fit for the organization, right? So you have issues in finding a job. You have some problems. The companies have problems too. So sometimes we have to sit back and try to understand both sides, right? Okay. So who pays the contractor or the consultant? The employment agencies who place consultants, the agencies are like middlemen. They're like a broker. So they win a supply arrangement, or they're on the vendor of record, and then when you work for the company, for example, let me give you a quick example. Say I place you at Transport Canada, okay? You work there, but the contract is between Transport Canada and, say, Yvonne Robinson Consulting, right? The contract is not between you, Ronald, right, and Transport Canada. The contract is between Yvonne Robinson and Transport Canada. And Yvonne Robinson has to, in turn, write Ronald a contract, and that's a different arrangement. And Ronald and Yvonne gets paid from Transport. So you work for the month, Ronald, and then at the end of the month, you send in your timesheets, and I have to send that timesheet and everything over to Transport, and they pay me, and then I pay you. So a lot of times what happens, guys, some companies will say, I'm going to pay you in 6 weeks. Some say, I pay you at the end of the month. When a company pays you for contract at the end of the month, they are paying you before they get paid. All right. So I just don't want to go into all that nitty gritty, but it's a little bit more complicated than we think. Okay, guys, it's a little bit more complicated, but I just want to let you know that the employment agencies are like middlemen. Okay. And when they place you in a permanent job, now they just hand you over to the company, and the company negotiate your permanent salary and all the benefits and all that. But once it is a contract, the employment agency is like a middleman. When it's a permanent job, they're not a middleman. They're just, well, they're hiring you. They're hiring you for that company. That company is going to take care of everything. They just get a finder's fee. So hope that makes sense, right? All right. Patricia said face-to-face is a great dynamic. And I like that. Yes, we meet people face-to-face, and that was great, Patricia. So that's a nice thing. So I want to talk about the recruiter and the job seeker relationship, because that's where we want to go to, right? A recruiter and a job seeker. And that's why I started out by saying that you should develop the relationship, because when you have a relationship with people, they know you, they like you, and they will trust you. And how are you going to get that know, like, and trust with a recruiter, right? How are you going to get the know, like, and trust with a recruiter? All right. So what we're going to do is to set the expectations up front. Why do you think I go downtown? I drive from, maybe a couple hours, not a couple hours, 20 minutes or so, to go downtown to meet with a consultant, because we're setting expectations. You know, what can I expect from you, Yvonne, and all that? Now there's COVID, right? This pandemic. You're not going downtown, but you have, for people who I could not meet face to face, guys, I used to meet them on Zoom. That time I didn't have Zoom. I never used to use Zoom a lot. It was kind of like another face to camera app that we used to use, right? The Microsoft one. I can't remember what it's called right now, right? So we do face to camera. We still do face to camera. I love face to camera because I can look at the people, right? Talking over the phone without face to camera, I like to look at people. So we used to do face to, be respectful, and I'm going to explain how to be respectful. And I'm going to say over communicate, and I'm going to tell you how to over communicate. Okay, so that's great. So set expectations, be respectful, and over communicate. So when you set the expectations, what are you looking at? Ensure that first of all, ensure you're selecting the right recruiter who can put you forward and recommend opportunities that you're qualified for. And that, I'm telling you guys, that is golden. I used to email people with jobs all the time, right? You're looking for a job, you have a recruiter emailing you jobs, right? Our email, and a lot of times job seekers have friends, and they just send around the job to their friends and say, the company I was working for has this job, or Yvonne sent me this job, are you interested? And then their friend comes to me. And also, if you have a good relationship with a company, they will even pay you. Their company is paying people $500 a pop to find somebody for them. You recommend somebody that you know for a job that is hard to find skill, companies will pay you. I'm telling you, it has happened. I've paid people before, right? Now, another thing that you can do is find out how often you are expected to follow up. No, don't go stalking the people. Don't follow up every week. I had a guy who used to follow up every week. That is not realistic, guys. Okay? Set the expectations. Say, Yvonne, how often can I follow up with you about jobs? Because they see jobs every day, and they know if they get project manager positions, they know if they get cloud architect positions often. And a lot of times, if they don't follow up with you, is because they don't have anything, or they're busy and maybe did not remember everybody. So it's good to follow up. Okay? Follow up. And the more you follow up with your recruiter, they're gonna remember you. Okay? Just don't stalk them every week. But I would say maybe once a month, send them a message or so, or ping them on LinkedIn. Nowadays, we can even follow up every month because we have LinkedIn, which is easy, right? It's not like you have to write a big letter, right? Another thing, you have to be transparent if there are gaps in your resume. So when the recruiter talks to you the first time, you can tell them about the gaps and the reason why, and they will help you to be able to explain those gaps. Recruiters, I'm telling you, any recruiter I worked with, they were very, very helpful. The people complain about LinkedIn, recruiters on LinkedIn are people who don't know them, right? And they just send them something. And I'm not saying that they're not bad recruiters out there. I think they're bad people everywhere. I think they're bad workers all over, bad customer service people and all that. But we're not going to put ourselves in that position because we're smart. What we're doing, we are going to be working with people who are interested in us, and also the people who we are interested in, because people will send you people they're working with, and not because you find a permanent job, you forget your recruiter. No job is permanent. Remember I told you the story of the lady who cried in my office because for 25 years she worked at IBM and she was let go. So no job is permanent, right? And also be transparent about your salary range. And I'm going to touch on this one before I come back to you guys to see if you have anything to say. As a matter of fact, let me explain this one and then I'm going to talk to you. People don't like to talk about the salary range. And I've done live shows about salary. But the reason why a recruiter wants to know your salary range, guys, just give them a range. I mean, why be secret? If you have a relationship with a recruiter, give them the salary range. Don't give them the exact number. I have another live show to tell you how to negotiate your salary. However, when they get a job, if the job is not within your salary expectation, they want to know that they're not bothering you with a job that is below your expectation. And people used to say to me, Yvonne, you know, my salary is $700 a day or $750 a day or $1,000 a day. But if you get something that is lower than 700 a day or 500 a day, still call me. Still tell me about it because I might know a friend. Guys, this is people business, right? This is people stuff, right? This is people stuff. You want to be able to work with people. You want to have relationship with people. So if a good recruiter is working with you, they're not going to try to, I mean, they're not going to try to pay you the least. I mean, they have to get paid, right? Because something that I should have said a while ago, that some recruiters are paid full salary. Some recruiters are paid a basic salary plus a commission, and some recruiters are paid 100% commission. And it is always easy. Sometimes you can find out, but it's good to know that a recruiter sometimes is paid on commission, right? So they are going to also want to make a salary. But I've placed people already before, and I got zero margin because maybe we won the RFP too low, and the person, say the person's salary was $1,000, and I could only pay them 900 or 850, and there was no room. Sometimes we do a loss leader. So companies do that, guys. They are not all that brutal, right? Things happen and companies do that. So I just wanted to find out, guys. I'm going to stop here, and Dr. Renee is in the house. She's late. So I just want to find out from you. Do you have any questions so far with regard to a recruiter, job seeker relationship, or anything around salaries, or anything around how to forge these relationships? Because I'm going to get into next the kinds of questions that you should be asking your recruiter. So I have somebody at LinkedIn who says that they're glad they're here. I hope you can ask me a question now. I want to take some questions. So ask me some questions, guys, about the whole situation, because I know you have a lot of questions. I see people asking questions on LinkedIn. Ronald, I highlight you here, and so on. So do you have any questions for me? Post some questions here. Post some comments and let me know. Dennis, is there anything that you'd like to know about the whole process of relationship with the recruiter? All right, so we're going to talk about questions. So the third thing is that you need to over communicate. You need to ask some questions. So when you see the recruiter, what are the kinds of questions that you're going to ask the recruiter? What kind of questions you're going to ask? We're going to ask different kinds of questions. Process questions for successful relationship, right? We're going to ask position. When you just meet the recruiter, you ask them some process questions. When you have a position, she said, I have a position. You want to know something about the position, right? If you're interested in the position, you're going to want to know some logistics and benefits questions. And if you're going to be interviewed, you want to know about some interview questions. So why don't I keep this one up there, and then we're going to talk about the different types of questions, right? So let us talk about some process questions. What kind of questions can you ask, right? You can ask a recruiter, do you specialize, for example, say you're a UX UI developer. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here to get a question here from Patricia. Where do I find a list of recruiters on the federal government's vendor of record? Okay, so let me explain that, Patricia. So the government private sector has vendor of record, and government has people who win supply arrangements. And I think I'm not 100%, but I think if you somewhere on the government website that you can find some of the companies that work with them. I think Treasury Board puts that out, but we can I can go and since I know you, Patricia, I can go. I can investigate that and send you a list. But what you can do, most of the companies in Ottawa, I could call a few of them. Most of the companies, most of the recruiting firms in Ottawa work with the government. There is Mindwire, there is Procom, there is wow, I'm drawing a blank right now, but there's a lot of companies in Ottawa. All of them work with the government. We all get paid by the government, right? So yeah, Treasury Board puts, I think Treasury Board would put out a list of the people who have supply arrangement, right? So for the government, you submit an RFP and you win a supply arrangement. For private sector, you get on their vendor of record. So those are just little nuances with that. So for the companies in Ottawa, as I said, Mindwire is one. And you can even Google them and you might find them employment agencies and they all pop up. But all of them work with the government because they wouldn't survive. Because when the private sector in Ottawa has jobs and you have a company working with the private sector in Ottawa, they only send you jobs that they cannot find people for. So the government is everybody's lifeline, right? The government is everybody's lifeline. So most companies do RFPs, submit RFPs and win. And I would think the same thing with the United States. I don't know what happens in Malawi. Maybe Ronald can find that out if he's interested in that. But in the United States, it's the same thing. You have to win supply arrangements to work with the United States government as an employment agencies, right? I have a consultant friends on LinkedIn that I know get contracts with the US federal government to supply IT people, right? So when you meet the recruiter, guys, what you do, you set the expectation, right? Right. So you find out what you want to find out from them if they have placed people with your skill set. That's very important, right? What industries have they placed these people with and how often? So you might want to take some things down. If you're going to work with a recruiter, you have to know what questions to ask them. If you are going to call a recruiter and talk to them on Zoom, they're very busy. So you want to build a relationship with them. You have to have some questions, right? Do you proactively market candidates? Now, I said at the beginning that a recruiter doesn't find a job for you. It's you have to find your job yourself. The recruiter works for the firm. However, if you have a good relationship with a recruiter, guess what? They help you to find a job. They pre-market you. They will send your resume to clients. I've done that before. They will help you out. So if you're working with a recruiting agency, a recruiter can pre-market you. And what I'm saying, not just sending a blank resume. If you want to say, if you have to discuss with them, they will send your resume with your name on it, right? Or sometimes they take your name off if they don't want, because they have to be paid, right? So if they don't want somebody to go behind them but most people are honorable. So they won't go behind them and call Patricia or Renee, right? Right? So a recruiter will work for you if you have a relationship, right? But it is not their job to work for you. So any recruiter who sends you jobs and a good job that you could apply for, guys, it's a good thing. You know, you should love that recruiter. Love your recruiter, right? They're not all bad. Okay. I used to have consultants. Sometimes they used to, not big gifts, but sometimes they used to send me little gifts. But I used to take them for lunch all the time, right? And I don't take them to a little side place. I take them to the Sheraton downtown, right? So you want to find out if they proactively market people, right? And how does the process work? Do you strip my name off? How can I be proactively marketed if you have I have a LinkedIn user I'm going to highlight. when I'm submitted to a client, I ask if they exclusively have a role. You can ask that because sometimes the recruiting agencies won the RFP and nobody other company won it. So they're exclusive on that supply arrangement. People win exclusive contracts with the government, guys. Sometimes they win exclusive contracts, and it's important to know that, right? Okay. All right. You can also ask them, how can I make myself marketable to your employer, to the people who you're working with on the other side? And they will give you ideas. Honestly, when I was working with consultants, I used to give them ideas. I used to coach them. I used to tell them, okay, you can do this this exam, you can do that exam just to make your chances better. And I used to proactively market them. I used to help them with their resumes, right? In a recruiter can help you with your resume too, right? If you're working with a recruiter. And just to let you know, guys, recruiters from corporate jobs like Amazon and Microsoft and Facebook, they're not going to help you with your resume. Because when you apply for a job at Amazon and Facebook, the recruiter is going to take your resume and take it to their manager, have a good person. They're not going to come to you and say you have to tweak your resume and tweak your resume there. The advantage sometimes in working through an agency is that an agency, more than one agencies get the job to submit to Amazon, right? I can say Amazon, we have them in Canada, right? More than one agencies will be on their vendor of record. And when they put the opportunity out, what you think happens? I want to place you. So I will help you with your resume. So when you see on LinkedIn, everybody sending their resume to a recruiter, it's not every recruiter can help you with your resume. Because some of them they know what they're looking for, but they're not resume writers. And you need to understand that. But most recruiters that are working with employment agencies will help you with their resume because they have to tweak it up. They have to call you on Zoom. They have to help you to get that resume ready to send to their clients. That is the difference. It's a huge difference. So if you have a recruiter on LinkedIn, most recruiters, corporate recruiters, some of them can't even write their own resume. You got to know that. So don't go around thinking that every recruiter is the same. They're not the same, right? But there are advantages and there are disadvantages. And the advantage in working with a recruiter from an agency is that they will help you with your resume. An advantage in working with a recruiter from the company that you're submitting to is that they are closer to the person who's hiring. However, if the employment agency has good account managers, they have the same information as the internal people, right? But just know that not every recruiter can help you with your resume because some of them can't even write their own. Okay, right? But recruiters like me who have been writing resumes for 15 years because I was working with an employment agency, yeah, because we have to, in order to win a supply arrangement, you have to be able to write resumes, right? It's one of the most tedious things, but we did it. And I did it for 15 years, right? So a LinkedIn user said, a small recruiter tweaked my resume and it's a good thing. I asked to see it before sending to the client. He put a whole bunch of nonsense and grammatical errors. I was so cross. Right, that too. If somebody tweaks your resume, you cannot let them send it straight out. You got to work. And as a matter of fact, a good recruiter is not going to tweak your resume without you there. Right? So just remember, guys, you have good people and you have bad people, right? You have good people and you have bad people. And Michael said there's Excel HR in Ottawa, Excel ITR, I think it's called, because they have the HR. There's Altis, which is, I think is the same company. There's Portage. There's a company called that. There's one called Max System, right? But some of the best ones are, yeah, I'm gonna have to get that list because I do know them, but I right now my brain is not going. Okay, all right. So another thing, communication keep the good relationship, right? And another thing to find out from a recruiter, right? Because when I go on vacation, because I'm a workaholic, I used to take my computers, and when my husband is sleeping at night, I was on the computer submitting people for jobs. Okay, I was crazy for 15 years. I did that, and I didn't mind because, you know, I have a great husband, and he didn't mind that he's sleeping, right? So I can work while he's sleeping, right? In the days I go out, and in the night I was on my computer submitting people for jobs on in the Cayman Islands and in Mexico and in Florida. But what you need to find out from the recruiter, do you have a backup when you're away? Okay, because you don't want a job to come in and you could be submitted for it and the company doesn't have an alternate recruiter to help you when you're away. Because remember, some companies have what they call candidate assignment. You will be assigned certain people that you're working with, and when they're going on vacation, you want to know that you're properly taken care of, even though the system works, but no system works 100%. Okay, the another thing that I wanted to talk about is the position. If a recruiter sends you a position, now everybody on LinkedIn, listen to this one. You need to find out if it's the only opening or if they have, talk to the people who are sending you the job. If somebody sends you a requirement on LinkedIn, or if somebody says on LinkedIn, send me your resume, do not send it. If somebody says, here's an opportunity, are you interested in it? And here is the job description, then that's a different story, because you have to tweak your resume for the job. And if you just send the resume you have, they might just put it into file 13. Do not send your resume to somebody who just says, send me your resume. Do not do it. Do not do it. Do not do it. Okay, if you're on LinkedIn, are you listening? Do not do it, please, guys. And don't come on LinkedIn and complain about it, because you should know. Don't let people send you an email and say, send me your resume, unless they have a good reason. But if they say, here's a job, are you interested? Here's a requirement. You can even say, can you hop on a call with me on a Zoom call? What about that? Why can't you hop on a Zoom call for 15 minutes and talk to the people and find out if it's the only opening or if they have multiple opens? How long has the position been opened? Why is the position opened, right? Was there someone performing the role? If so, why did they leave? Because sometimes it's not a good job, right? You want to know, guys, do your due diligence, right? And you can talk when you are developing a relationship, you find out, are there any roles that are recruiting for, that you are recruiting for, any other roles that you're recruiting for that I might be a fit for? Okay, some more questions to ask. Some more questions to ask here. Right. So the LinkedIn user said that the person did not give them a job description. They are okay. So don't send. Do not send. Okay. Do not send. Right. Do not send your resume to a recruiter who just asked you for it. Don't be desperate, guys. That's not helping you. You need to see the job description. Don't do it. Okay. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is that if you have the position, you have to confirm the location of the role, because you'll make mistakes, right? You might think you can get there, but remember, one of your non-negotiables may be that you don't want to travel 50 kilometers to find. I don't know what 50 kilometers is. I don't even know kilometers, guys. But you don't want to travel far for a job. You don't want to travel across the city. If you don't want to travel across the city, you ask these questions. Can the work be done remotely, right? Does the job require travel, right? You can even ask them, what is the salary range? They know. They know what the salary range is. They all know, okay? We all know, okay? And you can ask them, if it's a permanent job, just ask them about benefits. If it's a permanent company, tell me a little bit more about your company. What are the benefits? Do you have 401k? Do you have RSP matching? What about tuition and reimbursements and stuff like that? What are the benefits? Okay? Remember, guys, somebody asks you to send your resume, do not send it without a job description, and say to them, can we hop on a call? Because if they really would like your resume, they saw your profile on LinkedIn and they think you're a good good person for the job, they will hop on a call with you. I was happy to hop on call with people. I wish the people would say to me, can you hop on a call? Because I was the one who had to say, I would like to hop on a call with you, right? So at least the person is open to hop on a call, okay? All right, so if you're going to go to an interview, so here are a few questions that you might want to ask too. Here are a few questions for the interview, right? Lily is here from South Florida. Lily. Okay, so here are some questions. How many interviews will be conducted? What are the stages? That's a problem with everybody on LinkedIn who are complaining about these interviews. Then they go and hear that there were 6 interviews and then they come back complaining. Guys, don't do that, right? Okay, the next thing. Who is the final decision maker? These are good questions for you to ask, guys. I never even thought of them as much as when I was doing this today, right? I tell you, on Tuesdays, my husband will tell you, I do nothing else but prepare for your live show if I'm having one, right? So I'm really putting in a lot into these to give you information. So I hope you enjoy this information, right? What topics will be the interviewer be covering? Sometimes they know and they can tell you, right? You can also ask the recruiter, are there any questions that I didn't ask you that other people are asking about this? It uncovers more for you, right? What are the kind of questions that candidates generally ask, right? Is there anything specific about this role that I need to know about, right? And also ask the recruiter, okay? Ask the recruiter this. Please do. Please ask the recruiter. Are you able to answer any technical questions? Remember at the top, I started by saying recruiters are not usually technical. Okay, they are not usually technical, but there are some technical recruiters who will be able to answer your questions. And sometimes some companies have great account managers and recruiters, and they're able to help you, right? So what I'm going to do today, right now, guys, I'm going to just find out from you. Now you can see me. If you have any questions with regard to that, as I tell you, my LinkedIn user says she declined the offer, right? And I'm happy that you declined an offer for some recruiter who did not do their job well, right? And this was a high valued role. Program director is a high value role, right? She got the job and she did not like the client, right? Sometimes it's good to know for these roles, was there somebody doing the job? Because if there was, and why did the person leave? Right? And you will know if they're telling a lie. That's why you need to get them on a call so you can look into their eyes. Right? That's important, because you know what you just did? You just waste yourself maybe a whole days of work applying for a job, tweaking a resume, going for 2 interviews, and then you have to decline the role, right? So that could have saved you maybe a half a day, and your half a day, because you are sounds like you are a very senior person, $1,000 a day, you just throw away $500, right? For your half day. Okay, you must value your time. And Lily says, how do you feel about contracting firms that want to hire on 1099? Now, Lily, I'm not so sure what 1099, that might be a US thing. Could you explain a little bit about 1099 for us, and like in Canada's lingo? Because I don't know what 1099 is. Okay. And Patricia says, apply through so true, got a job which had a revolving chair, worst nightmare ever. Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, so if you want to hear some of those questions again, I hope you might want to listen to this again. But those questions, you need to know how to ask the right questions, right? And this is what I teach people to do: how to find a job fast, right? Find a job with warp speed by asking the right questions, right? Because it's important. If you're not confident enough to go and ask the right questions, that's not going to be good for you guys. I don't want you to waste your time. And as I say, every Tuesday, I do nothing else on Tuesday. I prepare for my live show because I want you to have a good experience. I want you to get information. And when I do have a live show like this, it's like a master class. I give you enough information, maybe sometimes too much information. But if I am giving you too much information, let me know. But I know that, you'll die for lack of information. So why not give it to you? Okay, Patricia said she make a lot of notes. Lily says 1099 is where I pay all your taxes and my own benefits. Oh, so that is like being an independent consultant in Canada, where you and your question before that, Lily, how you feel about contracting firms that want to hire on 1099. Well, if it's what I'm thinking, the firm I worked with only hired on 1099, right? So there's a way to calculate your salary there so that you don't lose. I have a formula. Lily, maybe you can hit me up for that, right? And I will explain how you can get all that back. If you're a consultant, because most of the consultants in Ottawa, they are independent, they're incorporated. I think that's what that means. So they pay their own taxes and their own benefits. Right. Okay. Okay, so my LinkedIn user who said that she declined the job, they replaced the person multiple times. Guys, you have to be diligent about this, because my mantra: career goals are life goals, and you have to take your job like is your life, it's your career. Because if you don't have money, you can't live no lifestyle. I don't care what people say. I can go to the supermarket with zero. Okay, so you have to know that your career is your life, part of your life, right? Own your career, own your life, right? And career goals are life goals, and you should treat your career like a business. I always treat my career like a business. I work like it's a business, right? As I told you, I could become a millionaire in a 9-to-5 job because I treat my career like a business, like I was running a business. But I was lucky to do that because I was a recruiter, and I also work in a situation where my like salary not cap. You can make as much as you want if you work hard, right? As a recruiter, recruiters can make a lot of money. They do make a lot of money if they work hard, but we want recruiters that are going to work with you. So this live show was really about how to work with recruiters, guys. And it is very important that you take into account that a relationship with a recruiter is very, very important, right? So it is 6:57 right now, almost 7 o'clock, and another live show, another successful live show. And I know I got a lot of questions from some ladies there. And if you have any more questions for me, guys, let me know, because I'm going to go out now with a little bit of, if anybody on LinkedIn would like to work with me one-on-one, you can send me a quick message on LinkedIn. My website is goalinspiredcareercoaching.com, and I help people to find jobs at warp speed. When I work with people, they get noticed in 2 days. They find jobs very fast because I know my system works. But instead of waiting for 6 months and 12 months to find a job, it's a no-brainer, right? So and the stress that it causes you guys when you're looking for a job. So this LinkedIn user said hi. hi back. So I'm going to go out, and I would like
After searching for a job for 6 months, a friend introduced me to Yvonne on LinkedIn. I consulted with her and decided to hire her to provide me with career coaching. Yvonne is motivated to help each client reach their goals. After the first session, I was able to gain the clarity and vision for my career that I needed. I started developing so much confidence that by the second week, I attended a job interview and got hired on the spot. We accelerated my coaching, and Yvonne provided flexibility in her approach and pivoted my training to career advancement success for the first 90 days. Yvonne closed my job search gap in 2 weeks and provided the confidence I needed to communicate my value, land a job I love, and increase my income. If you're looking for a job or career advancement, I highly recommend Yvonne.